kinds of questions are more valuable than even what we're saying straight up. So, what I want to do is take this opportunity to kind of review play one. Obviously, I've been working on pieces of it as we go through, and I'll be able to answer some of your questions from what we've had. We did our first real beats, reeling boats, this last week or on Tuesday. So what do we learn from that play one, those beats that we did? What are some questions that we have from what we did on Tuesday? Some issues that we had.
From my group anyway, when the 1-2 got broken up, and then it ended up like somehow being a 1-5-6. During one race, I wasn't really sure what to do, but then they told me, you gotta clear it up. So you pretty much, as the one, you need to take little hits on other boats to kind of like push them slowly backwards so your team just can catch up. But you shouldn't really let the other team get the one. You should keep the one. So that was unclear to me before, and that's one thing that was helpful. For I think the 2 races after that, we had the same situation happen again. So I knew exactly what to do for the next 2 races. Actually got back into the race. So.
Cool. All right, we'll touch more on that too in a minute as we go through what happens when you lose it. All right, what else? Anything else that came up from what we've been doing so far?
This doesn't always apply like every time you do those beats, but sometimes if you end up like crossing when you're coming back and forth with your teammates, sort of like making sure that if you need to switch teammates, it's like clear that you guys are switching, like who you're covering basically, because otherwise you guys kind of end up doing double work and messing up the plays a little bit. So communicating that can be kind of important when it comes to it.
Okay. All right. So as teammates are coming together, right? We kind of, we'll forget opponents for right now, but let's just say this is some of the trickiest parts of play one, right? Is having 2 teammates come together. It gets even trickier when we go to play 2 and it's a 2-3-4 and it's 3 teammates coming together, right? But we have 2 teammates coming together. This is a critical time of where, and if you're chasing this, you're waiting for an opponent to make a mistake. If you're ahead, you need to make sure you're not making that mistake, right? And what we can do is you have a switch, right, which is the positive thing. That's what you want. Or you can have an unswitch. Okay? You don't want that. Right? Essentially, what it is, if you have opponents coming through, that in the end, if everything's being equal, in the end, when we separate away, we come away fully in control and everything's great, right? That's the switch. Whatever we did going in there, that switched and we're all set, right? The unswitch is when teammates come together with their opponents, right? And for some reason or the other, the way we unswitched, right? Now we've got kind of a mismatch, right? Where one teammate that came in strong is now leaving weak, and usually what happens is it accentuates on the other side and we're really strong on the other side, right? This is called the unswitch, right? I'm giving this in very general terms so you can recognize when you mess this up, right? Because that's where you're trying to be like, oh, we just unswitched. So now we can work backwards and see what happened. Okay? So this happens a lot, and this is how, the green team, the chasing team, gets back into a race. Just going into that. So let's talk a little bit about how we can not do that. All right. First of all, with our 2 boats coming together, what are our options here with 2 boats coming together?
Same team.
What's that?
Same team.
Same team. Yeah, sorry, same team. Same 2 mates coming together, yeah?
Well, we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago how the boat on port would come and leave out the other boat, and then the other one would tack off.
Okay. It doesn't have to be the boat on port, but you can have one boat lee bow, right? So what we're working on is we have this boat doing a nice lee bow here, this boat hanging on as long as they can, and then tacking off. The reason for this move, right, is that our weakest point is in between the 2 boats. So we want to close that down as much as possible. So if we lee bow and hold and then tack off, now that distance is really small, right? So our weak point is very small and it's hard to fit a boat through there, right? It's not going to happen. If we came together, and we tacked wide of each other, right? Now we've increased the size of the span, right? And it makes it harder for us to balance and control. Because if we look at our coverages, right? I know this is a review, but I think it's good to hear it again and again and again, right? Our weakest point is here, right? This is where things can go bad, right in this spot. Right? So the closer we are, the better it is. Right? All right. So our first option is to do that leave out. Now, what do we know, what have we learned since we've been practicing this about this leave out move coming together? What have we learned from it? And how to execute it?
Communication is key.
Communication is key, right? Because the worst thing that can happen is they both come together and like, oh, they both just stack away, right? And we don't really get this done. Okay? So communicating, number one, right? We got to talk. Who's going to leave out, who's not. Right? Next thing, what else have we learned?
The timing of the leave out depending on the wind.
Yep. So obviously, the lighter the breeze is, the bigger the wind shadow is. This is really important stuff to know for team racing in general, right? So if we leave out tight here, how long can this boat last in really light air?
Not long.
Not long at all. It's almost like tacking, right? We're going right away. And more medium breeze, where we can hang a little bit more in some bad air before we lose speed, we can leave bow, hang for a boat length, and then tack away. Right? The object is we would love to hang for a little bit before we tack away, because that makes it tighter and tighter between us. Okay? And light air, we just have to be ready to go. Okay? So crews and skippers have to be on the same page that, hey, we're in this light air condition, we're going to be tacking right away. Okay? So how do we know, what's another option besides the leave out that we can do here?
One boat can duck.
Hit each other. Right? You can duck, right? So one boat could duck the other and go through. What's the problem with ducking?
Giving up ladder run.
Okay? If you duck too much, right? Now we're giving up ladder rungs, we're giving up distance upwind, and we're doing that in the middle of the race course most likely, and that's a deadly place to do that, right? Because there is no leverage, right? There is no wind shift to help us if we're in the middle of the race course. Right? We're stuck on that. So we could be ducking, and the worst part about it is if we have a nice lead here, right, and we go to make this duck happen, we end up like this on the other side. Right? So what's the positive about ducking?
If you're offset a little bit, then you can just, it's like a cross, basically, or a slight, very small duck, and you save 2 tacks.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you can go, like that, and you're barely ducking, you're just going straight through. Now we basically have a cross, and it's like a bonus, right? When it's close like this, right? It's a bonus here because now you're not losing really any ladder runs, and you're full hammered speed the whole time, and we don't waste a tack. What condition is that most favorable for? Just thinking about wind condition that we'd want to do the duck.
Heavy breeze.
The windier it is, right? So as soon as tacking doesn't help you, a day like today, I would want to tack all the time. Because you're going to gain speed. We saw this on Tuesday. The team that actually did more tacks, the side that did more tacks, was advancing, right? Now we take that out of it and it's a little bit breezier. Doing the duck is a better move because we will lose speed and we'll lose boat lengths by tacking, right? So knowing the condition is going to determine what's going to happen here, right? All right. So let's set ourselves up as we go in. So we know in the lighter air that we probably want to favor more of the lee bow and tack away, right? What happens if in the lighter air we look like this? What are we going to do? This has happened a lot.
Yeah.
When we're out there, right? What do we do now? Nothing. Right? It depends, right? Is this boat trouble. Right? Is this boat going to be in trouble because this boat is now ahead or could get a piece? Right? If they are, we've got to do something about this. Right? If they're not, then we could probably just continue to sail on. Right? And we could do basically a duck or a cross, right, and just continue to sail over. Let's say the right side is favored because it's a little more pressure, better current, whatever it is, right, or better angle. Great. Let's let our weakest boat come over and get stronger, and our stronger boat can continue and can take it, getting a little bit weaker, right, because they're still fine. But as soon as we bring this opponent in here, now we've got a problem, right? This is what we were starting to talk about last week, is how to deal with this. Right? What can this boat do, right, in this situation? What can Red 3 do in this situation? Clearly, their teammate is losing out here. Right, so what can he do?
Kind of position himself over boat 2 so boat 2 can't attack. So that when the red 2 crosses, free to go without being covered.
Okay, so our fear here is that this continues on and this now happens. Right? Or some variation of that. Right? Where now they're starting to get control of our teammate. So we have to play, team racing to me is a big giant game of keep away. Right? You're keeping your opponent away from your teammate. It's essentially what you're trying to do. So there's two things you can do here. If it's light, right, what's your wind shadow going to be like here? So green 2, bad guy. It's going to be significant, right? So we can extend our wind shadow and really slow our guy down, right, to get our guy to make progress ahead. Right? So that's one way to do it. How do we increase our wind shadow and really slow this guy down? What did we learn? Main and tight, right? We can over trim our main. We can head up a little bit to really help that wind shadow out. Heading up a little bit, I think, is key in this situation because then it takes away that high lane around you, right? So they're forced to be in this bad air. Right? Now, when they're forced to be in this bad air, what is green going to respond? What is their response going to be? What do you do when you're in bad air?
Try to attack out.
You attack out. Right, this is where you speak. You have the conversation back and forth. So if you're green here, you would tack out. Right? Now what do we do here? We can come down and get the rut. Now I made that seem extremely easy. Right? But the boat handling here is really tough. Right? It's actually really tough. And if you come up here and you start slowing, right, and giving them that bad air, you are slowing your boat down a lot in a condition where it's hard to accelerate. So you have two choices. You have to slow them down for a second and then be ready to whip off a big roll tack from almost a dead stop. Right? That means you still have to maintain a little flow on your board to make that happen. Right? Or you might lose this guy. Right? Get out to the other side. It's certainly not the goal. So now we both teammates move. So what's another option when it's really light? Like this will work really well when you've got that light to medium where the boat can move forward, right? You've got plenty of breeze, you're not worried about accelerating as much. But in the extreme conditions we've been sailing in, this could be the kiss of death for our Red 3 here, right? So what's the other option that we could do?
I feel like kind of make them sort of slow down enough so they choose the high lane and then just like hold them off for a while. So kind of like the keep away that you were talking about.
Yeah, so essentially we want to play keep away so we do not want them to go this way, right? We do not want them to have access on this side. So let's take it away, right? Let's take it away by heading down, right, and reaching this way. Now it's really unattractive for this boat to come down, and even if we're here, right,